Hey there, Vero311 here, former Marine infantryman, Revolutionary War reenactor, and amateur history enthusiast, and I also collect American military flintlock muskets and rifles. And that's what this video is going to go over. This is going to go over the military flintlock musket for the US military from about the end of the American Revolutionary War all the way up and through the 1840s when the flintlock system was replaced by the percussion musket. So the guns that we will be covering will be the French infantry musket, made about 1770. We have a American Charleville made in 1811. We'll get into that name discrepancy throughout the video, and then we'll be ending with this musket from the model of 1816 family series made in 1836. So let's get into it. Off the bat, we're going to be covering what all of these guns have in common. They're all single shot, muzzle loading, smooth bore flintlock muskets. They are all also in 69 caliber, but as you can see, the overall length of the firearm and the barrel is going to be different, and I will be putting the lengths of the barrel, the lengths of the gun, and the weight of the gun down in the corner as we make our way through the video. But yeah, let's get started. So down here at the one closest to you, this is a French infantry musket. This one was made in about 1770. This comes from the system of 1766. These muskets saw heavy use towards the later ends of the American Revolutionary War. The French actually provided America with at least 110,000 documented cases of these guns coming to the United States. It might be as much as 200,000. These guns were purchased from the French at half the cost it would have taken to build the guns here in the States. And the better part on that is that the French actually provided us a loan to purchase the guns. So in a way, we basically got these guns for free. These would have been staple for the American military at the end of the Continental Army at the end of the American Revolutionary War. After the American Revolutionary War, tens of thousands of these muskets would have gone into national armories. All right, so let's go over the French infantry musket from the system of 1766. You have we'll do it lock, stock, and barrel. So you're going to have a flat lock, a flat cock. So this is actually a replacement cock. This is a rounded, I think it's from 1774. You have no edge up on your hammer right there. And you're going to see that this one says Charleville. So this was made at the Charleville Royal Armory in France. You would run into ones that were made in Saint Etienne and Maubeuge, but those are different armories that made the gun. This one also has your inspector's mark. So there is a D right there on the lock plate. There is a D here on the barrel. As well, there's a D on the stock. As I keep bouncing it against the wall because this is obviously a very long piece. This barrel is held in by a screw right here in the barrel tang, and it also has your three barrel bands, your lower, your middle, and your upper barrel band, held in by spring tension. You decompress this spring, and you can slide those barrel bands off. Much better, in my opinion, than the pin system that you run into with the English style of guns. It has a brass front sight post, and you have a bayonet lug there on the top. It has an iron rammer, and as you can see, it's got a very distinctive comb that comes off to an edge right there. These guns, as mentioned, used in the Revolutionary War, put into the national armories, and they were used all the way through into the 1790s. Following the disastrous Battle of the Wabash, in which the United States Army at that time was basically destroyed, also known as St. Clair's defeat, Henry Knox was the Secretary of War, and he wanted to start domestic production of American flintlock military muskets. And the reason you're doing this is a couple-fold. One, they have to replace the guns that were lost when fighting over in the Ohio Territory. And two, during the 1790s, there's this thing happening in France and Europe called the Revolutionary Wars. So it's actually decreasing America's ability to import arms from abroad, and it's better to make things at home. So what the Americans do is we're moving on to the second of our military flintlocks. This is an American Charleville musket. Let's just get the naming convention out of the way. During the American Revolutionary War, the ones on the bottom would have been known as French muskets, light muskets. After the American Revolutionary War and into the 1790s, America goes and selects its first military flintlock musket. And as you can see, it has a lot of similarities with the French infantry musket. We don't quite know exactly where the term Charleville comes from, but Americans pick up calling these Charlevilles, and that is where the naming comes from. You also might hear this referred to by collectors and historians as the model of 1795. That's a postscript that was added on later on to help differentiate these from the French muskets. During the war, remember, these were not known as Charlevilles, but these are Charlevilles. In all reality, there's a lot of things that are the same. It is the same, but overall the same system. You got a flat lock plate. This one actually has the flat cock, and then it's held in, the barrel's held in by one screw in the barrel tang, 3 barrel bands. You have a brass front sight post. This one's missing a bayonet, and the bayonet lug is on the top. The only the only major difference between this and a French infantry musket, besides some minute details, is this is actually stocked in American black walnut, and obviously these ones are made at the National Armories. There are 2 national armories. There's Springfield and Harper's Ferry, and by the end, Springfield gets up and running first. Harper's Ferry is up and running by the late 1790s, and they start producing these in the tens of thousands. If I remember correctly, it's about 70,000 of these are made at Harper's Ferry, and about 80,000 were made at Springfield. Well, this would have been the musket that would have been used by American forces during the War of 1812. This one was made in Harper's Ferry in 1811. So why did the Americans use the French musket as the pattern to build off of? And why would they use from the system of 1766? By the late 1790s, you've already had the model of 1777. Well, there's a couple of reasons. One is that Joseph Perkin and other of the American armorers had actually worked on fixing and repairing the French guns during the American Revolutionary War. Remember how I mentioned this is a rounded cock? This is a replacement cock. I don't know who put it on, but I assume it would happen at an armory. There are some initials on the side plate, but I'm still trying to figure that out. So Joseph Perkin and fellow armorers had experience of repairing French muskets for the national military. When America steps up its first national armory, we start making our own guns. We decide to go with something that's tried and true. We replicate the French musket and we make the Charleville musket. This is going to also allow you to you're not going to have parts interchangeability, but you're going to have experience with the pieces, experience with replacing pieces, and Joseph Perkin, the first superintendent of Harper's Ferry, had actually spent his time fixing French infantry muskets from the 1780s and 1790s. So it was just trying to get America's nascent production facilities up and running to get America's soldiers and militiamen armed with military muskets. So this is going to continue all the way until the late 18 teens. So I am missing, there is the model of 1812, and then there's like the series of 1815. Those are your intermediary guns that are around between the model of the Charleville model and the 1816 series. But I don't have those. This is just generally representing the 3 major systems. So America's last military flintlock musket to be made at a national armory is this. This is a model of 1822/28. It is from the series of the model of 1816. All right, so what are some of the similarities and differences between this gun and the older, basically the French musket, and then America's copy of the French musket? Well, similarities, like I've said before, it's going to have the same caliber, about 69 caliber. They've obviously reduced the length of the barrel, and they've also reduced the length of the gun overall. These are modeled heavily on the French model of 1777, regarded as one of the best military flintlock muskets of all time. And while not completely parts interchangeable, the first American military arm to do that would have been the Hall rifle, and the first mass-produced to have that done was the model of 1842. This doesn't have parts interchangeability, but it does have compatibility. So when we're saying that, What I mean by that is during the era when they made these guns, they would hand fit the barrels into the stocks. You would have a guy that would make barrels, a guy that would make stocks. You would have a guy that makes um, block plates, and you'd have a guy that makes the cocks, and a guy that makes the butt plates, stuff like that. And these are all artisans. They're all making individual pieces on a quota system to be turned in by the end of the month, and then they go into a big barrel or a big pool, and then the guns are assembled and tested. So, as you can imagine, that is not quite the American system of parts interchangeability that we know and love today, where you can take one piece off an AR and throw it on another AR, and it's just perfectly fine. You don't have that at the era, but you do have something getting close to that. So, with a minimal amount of work, is what I've read, you can get these guns to swap pieces off. If anyone actually has more experience with that, I would love to hear, because that's just what I've read. I don't have a large collection of 1816, so I don't quite know. I'm just going off what is in the books. What is different about this last generation of American military musket? Well, we have a rounded cock right here, and it's also reinforced as the other ones are. You have a little bit more of a rounded block plate, and you have this. You have a brass, let's put this at half cock. You have a brass pan that can be taken off. The other ones have the brass pans that are integrated into the lock plate. This one has a brass pan that can be taken off. Why is that? Well, with excessive firing, you're going to rust out these pans, but if you have the ability to take out the pan and swap it, then you can be able to maintain the gun longer without having to redo the entire lock system. Uh, if I remember correct, Ethan from 11 Bang Bang says it's like a brass alloy type. I've seen it referred to as brass, but he is the metal guy. So you have that brass pan is also at an angle. So that means that when you come after you fire, bang, come down, you can then load your musket if you're in the, and it's more parallel to the deck than it would be with these other ones. With the other ones, your actual pan is at an angle too. So when you're loading, you run the risk of powder coming in. So how you negate that is you'd have to put it up there in your chicken wing and load it like this. But like this, it's a little bit more easy for you to put powder in the pan, close, and move forward. What else do we want to say about these models of 1816? Well, about 700,000 of these guns were made at the National Armories of Springfield and Harper's Ferry, as well as by contractors. That is basically all I really want to talk about today. There's a lot more to go into, and we could spend a lot of time talking about that. But that is generally America's military, a short overview of America's military flintlock muskets. Again, you start with the French infantry musket, brought in by the French. We move into the American copy of the French infantry musket, known as the Charleville, and then we're going to end with this model of 1816 series of gun. And just because I'm right here, I might as well continue. So this is actually what happens to a lot of the flintlocks after their times as flintlocks. This is a Harper's Ferry model from the system of model, well, from the model of 1816 family series of guns that was converted to percussion. This percussion conversion happened in 1861 in Philadelphia. This started off life as a flintlock and ended life as a percussion. So, this is kind of the end of your flintlocks. They were converted to percussion in large numbers before and during the American Civil War, and there's different ways of doing that, but basically they were able to take tens, if not hundreds of thousands of American flintlock military muskets. Remember, this was made in 1836. This one's made in 1841. Model of 1842, and then into the 1840s, they start mass producing the model of 1842, but you have hundreds of thousands of these basically brand new flintlock muskets sitting in the arsenals. So they go take these guns and they strip off the flintlock components and they make them into percussion. And these see heavy service throughout the American Civil War. So that's your ending fun fact. So I'm going to leave this a question for you guys. What is your favorite American military flintlock weapon? It can be a rifle or it can be a musket. I'm excited to hear your answers in the comment section down below. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you have any comments or you see anything I get wrong, yeah, I'm excited to hear about it. Again, I'm just happy to share with you my original flintlock and not flintlock collection. So, until next time, take care.